Hello, beautiful people. It is Thursday, July the 31st, 2025, or as I like to refer to it, Friday Eve. We've almost made it to the end of the week, guys. But we do have pressing matters, and that is Aaron Spencer. Wow. It's kind of unbelievable. We just had, over the past week, the double homicide in Devil's Den. I guess it's a national park in Arkansas. The man arrested for that crime, Andrew James McGann, age 28. Um, Former school teacher from Texas, came to be a school teacher in Arkansas. Do you know why he left Texas? Because he had charges because he liked to have contact, if you will, with students. Yeah. So you got another one of those type people coming into Arkansas. I wonder why. Because there you can do all kinds of things, and yeah, you can go to jail and they'll let you right back out. Just like they did Michael Fossler. Okay, so today, we're going to go over, gag orders in general and exactly how your rights, as well as Aaron's, um, can be, stepped on with them. Now, for those of you who don't know, and that's another reason why we do these videos, this case it needs publicity. It needs to get out there. This is unconstitutional. Aaron Spencer's 13-year-old daughter was assaulted by 67-year-old Michael Fossler. Fossler was arrested. He was charged with the assault charges, as well as over 30 CSAM charges. Okay? He was given a $50,000 bond, which, is $5,000 cash, and he walked out of jail with nothing more than a protective order, a piece of paper, just a piece of paper, because that's what a protection order is. I mean, if it means nothing to the person that holds it in their hand, it's nothing more than a piece of paper. And that's exactly what Michael Fossler, who is a former sheriff from Hamlet, Indiana, Stark County, Indiana. hmm and apparently, he's had issues with these types of things for a while. Question is, did the state of Indiana know that he already had issues with this, and yet they still let him out? Or did they just not do their job in finding out when you had a 13-year-old assaulted by this freak? So you get closer to trial, and one Saturday night, Aaron Spencer wakes up in the middle of the night to his daughter's dog barking ferociously. He immediately knows something's wrong. He goes to his daughter's room. She's gone. They immediately knew that something was wrong due to the way that the dog was reacting. They called 911 immediately, told them that their daughter had been kidnapped, and that they believed that it was probably Michael Fossler. After calling 911, Aaron Spencer got into his truck to drive around to see if he could find his daughter. And what do you know? He literally drives up on Michael Foster's vehicle, and guess who is in the passenger seat? His daughter. Okay, so Aaron Spencer proceeds to chase down Michael Foster, runs him off the road, gets out of his vehicle, goes up to Foster's vehicle, gets his 13-year-old daughter out of the car. They're going back to their vehicle, and Michael Foster attacks Aaron Spencer. Aaron Spencer, who is a war veteran, always has his firearm on his person, defends himself and his daughter, and shoots this man. They get back into their vehicle and head off. Aaron Spencer immediately calls 911 and tells them that he has found his daughter, that she was indeed in the company of Michael Foster, and that Michael Foster attacked them as he was rescuing his daughter, and he shot Michael Foster, and that they need to send, EMS to him on the side of the road. Now, since the state of Arkansas didn't protect his daughter, and he had to, for his troubles, Aaron Spencer has been charged with second-degree murder. And I think that that's absolutely ludicrous, especially considering the fact that not only was his daughter assaulted the initial incident that night when he kidnapped her, he assaulted her again, a 13-year-old. And like I said, because the state of Arkansas did not protect her, her father did. And he's being charged with second-degree murder. Not only that, though, the Judge Barbara Elmore, who has been sitting as a judge since 2007, has placed a gag order on the case. But this gag order includes Aaron Spencer. Now, gag orders are, they're placed to protect the case. They are placed to keep the jury pool clean, to keep information that doesn't need to be outside of the courtroom until trial inside the courtroom. It's usually placed on your attorneys, court staff, all of that. And, there may be, occasionally you might have a defendant where they might not want them to speak on certain things outside the courtroom. But this is a complete gag order. Do not speak about this case outside of the courtroom, or you'll be charged with contempt of court, which can include fines and imprisonment. Okay? Now, let's go over right quick some of our rights under the Constitution of the United States of America. Our First Amendment right gives us the right to freedom of speech, religion, assembly, press, and to air our grievances. Now, a gag order, the one thing that is a negative where gag orders are concerned, it is considered to step on your freedom of speech, um, which is a no-no. At this point, this man, Aaron Spencer, he literally cannot speak on this case at all, which also takes away his right to assert his innocence. He can't walk out onto his front porch and say to a group of people, I'm innocent, because by doing so will violate the gag order. Okay? However, what we found out about, Judge Barbara Elmore is that she likes to protect law enforcement. Okay? Now, I back the blue. I do. But just like with every other profession in the world, you have bad apples. But just because someone is a member of law enforcement doesn't give you the right to protect them even when they've broken the law. And according to people who live in this area, which is Lonoke County, Arkansas, apparently this judge has a history of protecting those bad apples in law enforcement. Okay? I mean, she has gone to great lengths to protect this child offender. Why weren't the same lengths taken to protect Aaron Spencer's 13-year-old daughter? When you arrested this man, and he ended up leaving that day with, I believe, it was either 46 or 47 charges between the assault charges and the CSAM charges. But we're going to protect him, not her. And then when we force her father to have to protect her, we're just going to blame it all on him. They are actually stating that what he did was not justified. Really? It's not justified? I beg to differ. The fact that you allowed this man who had prior issues with children and pictures, the fact that he had assaulted this young girl, 13 years old, 13, and you just sent him on his way with a piece of paper. Why the heck do you think that he moved out of Indiana to Arkansas? Maybe the same reason that old Andrew James McCann moved from Texas to Arkansas, because that's his thing too, because apparently in Arkansas you can get away with it. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about our Sixth Amendment rights. Now, the Sixth Amendment deals with rights, of individuals in criminal prosecution, like your right to a speedy trial. Meaning, you can't be held indefinitely without a trial, and also that trial is open to the public. At his arraignment was closed to the public. Why is that? Oh, I wonder why. Because they don't want anybody to know that they are protecting child offenders. Another, it's guaranteeing you an impartial jury and an unbiased judge. Well, I think that we've already proved that old Barb is a little bit biased. Also that, guarantees that you're informed of your charges. Um, that, let's see, that you have the right, to face and question witnesses. Um, your right to legal representation, like even if you can't afford one, you know, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. If you cannot afford attorney, one will be afforded for you. Yeah, all those things. Yep, that's the Sixth Amendment. Also allows, defendants to subpoena witnesses to appear and testify in their defense. But here's the problem: if you can't talk about what you're being charged with in court, then how can you actually get together, just say for just to testify as to what type of person you are? I mean, if you can't talk about it at all, how are you going to get your witnesses? Because in this case, there were three people there that night. There was the offender, his victim, and her rescuer. The offender attacked the rescuer and his victim, and as a result of that, the rescuer shot him. Okay, so now you have two people left that were there that night. All right, so as far as witnesses to this crime itself, you have those two. And I'm sure this 13-year-old girl will have to sit up on that, in front of a court and talk about what happened to her. And that in itself is an absolute, just, that makes my head want to pop off my shoulders. Because number one, um, they were being attacked. Okay, so he shot this man. This is a man who has now twice assaulted, and I don't, and when I say assaulted, I'm not talking about, oh, the 67-year-old man slapped her in the face. No, I'm not talking about that kind of assault. You know what kind of assault I'm talking about. And then where was he taking her? I can, man, you never know. He'll never be able to tell us now. But I kind of believe that more than likely, wherever he was driving her to, she probably wouldn't have come back from, because he knew that she was going to testify against him in court. He knew that this time he messed up. He knew that this time he was going to have somebody that was going to testify against him. Because here's the thing, kids normally don't tell. This 13-year-old girl was strong enough and courageous enough to tell. He wasn't expecting that. So where do you think he was going? Where do you think he was going off with her after he assaulted her for a second time? There's no reason for that little girl to have to get up in court and testify to that. And there is no reason for her father to be charged with second-degree murder, because they're saying that it was unjustified. Oh, it was justified, all right. It was justified by, number one, they were being attacked. Number two, the state of Arkansas failed miserably to protect his daughter, so he had to. And this guy, had prior issues with this. Even if, you know, even if you just want to count the charge with his daughter alone, that's still a prior. Okay? And he had kidnapped her and had already assaulted her again before her father could get to her that night. So yeah, they didn't do their job. And Judge Barb Elmore, been there since 2007. I think it's about time she sits down because uh, this isn't, you know, it should not be up to parents to have to protect their children against offenders just because they are former law enforcement and a judge likes to protect those people. Let's continue. 14th Amendment. Now, this is basically dealing with, due process, equal protection, and other fundamental rights. It primarily addresses the rights of citizens, limits the powers of states to infringe upon those rights as well. It states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction are citizens of both the United States and the state they reside in. Okay, so limiting the power of the states to infringe upon those rights. Well, see, that's where we're talking about infringing upon his freedom of speech. The Sixth Amendment, due process. Now, let's talk about, okay, the 14th Amendment has, a due process clause. Which prohibits states from depriving any person of life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness without due process of law. States must follow fair procedures when taking actions that affect individuals' rights. This gag order is affecting his rights. It also, equal protection clause, it, ensures that all persons within a state's jurisdiction are entitled to equal protection of the laws. It prevents states from enacting laws that discriminate against certain groups of people. Now, here's the thing. Let's go. Ensures all persons within a state's jurisdictions are entitled to equal protection. Now, I'm sorry, but was this child predator and Aaron Spencer, are they being treated equally under the law? This man assaulted a 13-year-old girl, and then when they took his computer, he ended up, after the assault charges, with over 46 charges total when you consider the assault charges and the CSAM. Oh, but we're going to let you go. Here you go. Here's a little protective order. Don't go close to her. Oh, but Aaron Spencer gets charged with second-degree murder when this man attacks him while he's rescuing his daughter from her second assault by this man as he's driving away with her to probably never come back. He was going to silence her from testifying against him in court. Doesn't sound like they're being treated equally under the law. The 14th Amendment is one of the most influential amendments to our Constitution where American law is concerned. It's been the basis for a lot of Supreme Court cases related to civil rights and liberties. It was the duty of the prosecutor in Lonoke County, to learn all the evidence about Michael Fossler when he was arrested. Okay? And that includes, anything that the police find out. So even if the police found out, oh, he's a former sheriff, he's a former cop, because I've heard that he was a sheriff, and then there's also that he was a police chief as well. So there's that old Michael Fossler, the kitty diddler. Um, but yeah, so even if the police, said, oh well, we're not going to tell anybody about that. Let's just keep that under wraps. And so yeah, it's the duty of the prosecutor to find out all that information. So the question is, did the prosecutor know? Did they know about his past and just went along with Judge Barb? Or did the prosecutor simply not do their job? And then Judge Barb just said, oh, it's okay. I'll take care of this. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Man. One of the core principles of our legal system is the right to assert one's innocence. In other words, the presumption of innocence. You are innocent until proven guilty. Okay? The presumption of innocence is considered a fundamental right under our 14th Amendment. Okay? Aaron Spencer cannot assert his innocence because he's under a gag order. Okay? Please hold. Okay. Sorry about that. I think somebody, I don't know what they did in my kitchen, but I just heard glasses falling. But as we were talking about, the gag orders, they prevent the release of information that could possibly prejudice the jury or possibly intimidate witnesses, in any way interfere with a fair trial. Now, when I say fair trial, Aaron Spencer's right to a fair trial. Now, for some reason in our country these days, much like the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, who thought that they deserved to have a fair trial in the Karen Reed case, no, the burden is completely on the state. Okay, the state doesn't have, there's no right to a fair trial where the state's concerned. The burden of proof is on the state to prove this person is guilty of the crime that you are saying they committed. And they have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay? Gag orders, they are frowned upon. They restrict speech. And they have to be balanced. There's constitutional rights there. So these gag orders have to be balanced. This one, no, there's no balance in there. It's completely heavy-ended on the state side. And that's not right. In these cases, the gag orders, as they say, are to be narrowly tailored. Basically, they can't be overly broad. They have to hit the specific concerns that could cause the fairness of the trial to be in jeopardy. Okay? And a lot of them, get overturned because there are other things that can be done less restrictive things that can be done instead of gag orders. This particular judge, I believe that one of the issues that she had was the media coverage. That's why she did the gag order. Oh well, baby, you picked the wrong time to do what you did then, because now like I said, guys, we have to get this case needs to get out there. People need to know about it. People need to be speaking about it. Okay? It has to happen. Because now, Judge Barb, you're going to get a lot of media coverage, but it's not going to be for the reasons that you're thinking. I mean, come on. You're a judge. Are you not smarter than that? Did you not think that somebody would eventually speak up? That 13-year-old little girl that was assaulted, and you protected her abuser, she had the courage to open her mouth. So if she had the courage to open her mouth and tell what happened to her so that that man could be put in jail so that he would not hurt any other children or her ever again, and y'all just let him out. And then when he assaulted her again and kidnapped her, and her father had to rescue her because of your actions, and they were attacked in the process, and her father shot him, you're going to say that Aaron Spencer was not justified in that? Self-defense. Self-defense. And it was self-defense due to the fact that you, Judge Barb Elmore, you didn't do your job. Neither did your prosecutor. And if Aaron Spencer had not gotten into the altercation with him and had to save himself and his daughter by shooting this man, how many more kids were you willing to let him assault? He left a trail, apparently. I mean, like I said, look here, you got this creep who, in front of a 7 and a 9-year-old, stabbed in the heart their parents, Clinton Brink and Kristen Brink, at Devil's Den. Former school teacher from Texas who had to leave because he liked to touch students. Where'd he come? He come to Arkansas. What did he come to Arkansas to do? To be a school teacher. Wow. Wonder why. Wow. But yeah, so if that 13-year-old little girl has the courage to open her mouth and speak, then I dang sure am going to have the courage to open mine. Okay? And to know that the first gag order was put into effect, I believe, in December of 2024, and there's been motion after motion after motion to have this gag order lifted, and it keeps getting squashed. Why is that? I mean, I really want to know the reason. Can you give us a reason? I bet you can't, because your reason is you like to protect law enforcement. Unfortunately, Barbara Elmore, not every person who is in law enforcement is a good person. Just like not every school teacher is a good person. Just like not every priest is a good person. Okay? So Why are we not lifting this gag order so that this man can actually get a good defense? You're you're keeping him from asserting his innocence. He can't, but also it is, the public has a right to know what's going on in the judicial system. Okay, you have a closed arraignment. You don't let the public in so that the public can see what you're doing. Oh, maybe it's because you're not doing the right thing. Is that why it was closed? I bet so. Um, but yeah, these gag orders, normally are pretty, it's pretty easy to get one overturned. Now, if you have a high profile case like, the Karen Reed case, that was a pretty high profile case, and it was a retrial. Um, However, even in that gag order, that was only on, her attorneys, court personnel. Karen Reed herself could speak because at least old Canoni had the good sense not to step on her freedom of speech, her right to free speech, her right to assert her innocence. At least Canoni had the good sense to do that. Maybe you need to talk. Maybe you need to talk to old Canoni about what happens when judges don't respect the rights and the freedoms of the citizens that they sit on the bench to protect. What happens? Well, a lot of the times you get some good attorneys that come through there and they make you look like crap, like they did her. Okay, here's the thing. The only thing that she has spoken about this gag order is that, oh, we don't want to taint the jury pool. Okay, yeah, this is a small place, but there are other things that can be done in lieu of a gag order. If all you're worried about is your jury is having an impartial jury, okay, you can do rigorous voir dire of the potential jurors. Okay, you can do that. For those of you out there who do not know what voir dire means, is a French word and it means to speak the truth. And basically, it just means that you bring in each potential juror one by one and you question them, just to ensure that they are actually impartial, to the case, so that you don't have a tainted jury. But that's what that is. That can be done. Heck, for that matter, you can have a change of venue, take it to another county, or sometimes, like I believe in the Corey Richens case, we've got jurors coming in from a different county. So there's lots of things that you can do if that is the only thing that you're worried about is the jury pool getting tainted. Oh, honey, see, you have all these other things that you can do. So why is this gag order still in place? Who's protecting who? Because that's the problem. The people that need protecting, like Aaron Spencer's 13-year-old daughter, it's definitely in this case not her. Or had this person not gotten into the altercation, not attacked them as they were trying to leave, and gotten himself, injured the way that he did. My goodness, how many more kids in your county? How many kids in your county has this man already assaulted that just didn't have the courage to speak up like Aaron Spencer's daughter did? And you protected him. You protected him. And you're saying that, Aaron Spencer wasn't justified in shooting that man. He should have been in jail. I can tell you right now, where I live in my county, just let somebody get arrested. Number one, you get arrested for assaulting a child. No, you're not leaving the jail. Much less the assault, and then you're over 30 images of CSAM. Really? I think it was 46 or 47 charges he got in one day for harming children. And you just said, oh, here you go, buddy. Just go on home. Stay away from that little girl. Go on home. Well, because of your actions, this happened. This is your fault. Okay? This is the fault of the state of Arkansas. So I really want to know, where's, Sarah Huckabee Sanders? She grew up in Hope, Arkansas. She's your governor. So, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, what do you have to say about what's going on in your state? I mean, your state's got a lot of issues. I mean, I've been on your state for a long time, but it wasn't because of this. It was because of other issues that also dealt with law enforcement, but just not this thing. So, but this I'm on hard. So, yeah. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas, that likes to talk like she's big on this and big on that and all that. Okay, what do you have to say about this? What if it was your daughter that this man assaulted? Would you like it if Judge Barr Belmore just gave him a little slap on the wrist, charged him with 46 or 47, assault, the assault charges and CSAM, but then just let him go and say, it's okay, just stay away from her, okay? How would you feel about that? And then how would you feel about it if right before that man went to trial, he came to your house and broke into your house and kidnapped your daughter, assaulted her again, and was on his way to do God knows what to her, and your husband ran him down and rescued your daughter? And then this man attacks your husband, and your husband shoots him, because not only is he having to protect himself, he's having to protect his daughter as well, because he knows this is not just a dog on dog fight. This is a fight for, if I lose this fight, he's going to take my daughter. He's going to continue with his plan. He's going to take my daughter. He's already assaulted her twice now, took him pictures of her 13-year-old body. All these charges. And he knew, that if I don't win, he's going to take my daughter. Yeah. So how would you feel if that was your daughter and your husband? And then Judge Barr Belmore comes up and says, well, I'm sorry, Governor Sanders, but we're going to charge your husband with second-degree murder because we don't believe that he was justified in what he did. And by the way, he can't say anything to anybody about this, because if he does, we're going to put him in jail. Okay? How would you feel about that? All right, guys. Well, that's about all I got for today. So, guys, we need to get this out there. Aaron Spencer, get his name on all your social media, And guys, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. It is free. It's the best way to support this channel. Like, subscribe, and share. Let's get this out there. It needs to be known. Our government cannot infringe on the rights granted to us in the Constitution. It cannot step on, especially when you're considering in a case like this where they want to put this man away for the rest of his life because the state of Arkansas didn't do their job. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. All right, y'all have fun, be safe, and always know that you are loved. And I love you guys. Bye.